Hello, I'm Pastor Stan Johnson.
I'm Lady Shay Johnson.
I'm Kirk Johnson.
I'm Kirkland Johnson.
I'm Sarah Johnson.
And we are the Johnsons
I think I
Unmasked.
forgot to say it.
Sarah! We had it!
Hey,
I
do
forgot
this!
to say it.
I met Stan. Actually, I met him in 1996 at a local restaurant that we both were working at. He just thought I was the most beautiful thing in the world. But we didn't actually start dating until 1999. I had kind of went to school and goofed up a little bit. Didn't know my purpose or whatever. And so I finally got myself together and moved back home. And actually, the weekend that I moved home, he was at a convenience store, no, supermarket.
Right.
Sitting in the car, and I think his nephew spotted me first and told him that I was getting ready to go in the store.
Right. And so when he told me that, I said, oh, well, tell her to come here. So she got in my car, and we chatted for a little bit, and we were just catching up because we hadn't seen each other in a couple of years. And I already knew her number, so I looked at her, I said, so I'll call you. I didn't ask her. I just told her I would. So I'll call you. And she said, okay.
I didn't say it like that. I said, okay.
Oh my God, okay.
No, I did not. But anyway, I was like, okay, cool. I moved home. And that started the beginning of our relationship, and pretty much a year and a half later, we got engaged and we got married on September the 1st, 2001.
Happy day.
Very happy day.
Happy day for us.
Pretty much after we got married, we decided we wanted to have children right away, simply because my mother was older and she had saw all of her grandchildren except mine. So I kind of wanted to go ahead, and since I was her youngest child out of 10, I wanted her to be able to see at least one of my children, I thought. So we started trying, and lo and behold, June 2002, we got pregnant.
Pregnant
with one.
We thought. At the time.
There's more than one child, so of course everything is kind of wait. I'm not sure what you're trying to say, and I was a nurse, LPN at the time, so they did a lot of blood work, and this level, ACG level, was like octa.
It tripled.
So that caused them to do a sonogram, and when they did the sonogram to see whether was I actually further along, there was 2 little bitty sacs.
2 sacks.
On that sonogram. So I got the news that, congratulations, you're pregnant with twins, and I was just a few weeks.
And she came home to tell me.
And I came home to tell him.
And all I remember was you're pregnant with twins. She told me they said it was 2 options. I never, to this day, I don't remember what the first one was. The first one was blah, 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 blah. Number 2, it's a possibility you got twins. And I remember stopping the remote mid-click, and I said, what? Because I planned for 1 baby.
That's all he heard was twins.
And I heard twins, and I'm like, so in my mind, that means I'm buying 2 of everything the rest of my life.
He was really calm.
Outside.
Stan was he's very calm on the outside, but on the inside he flipped out. And so the
Oh my God!
actual pregnancy was kind of rough. It was really, really, really rough.
It was morning sickness, afternoon sickness, evening sickness.
Only thing I could eat was cheese sticks.
Cheese sticks. Very expensive at the time. We had to buy them every night. That's all she could eat.
Did go into early labor a couple of times, and had to go through morphine sulfate injections to keep the babies, but we made it to
35 and
a half weeks, and they were born.
Kirkland
Emergency C-section.
Kirkland weighed 6 pounds 1 ounce. Kirk weighed 5 pounds 3 ounces when they were born.
They were long,
19 and a half inches.
but they were perfect. Just the most beautiful babies you could ever see.
Okay, the twins are here, and we're getting no sleep, of course. And that's part of the territory because we had 2 babies, and
We just thought it was a normal
thought it was normal.
twin syndrome. Like, you got 2 boys.
So
They fed off of one another, and luckily my mom was still in the yard. She lived nearby, so she came over every morning to kind of help. But it was just excessive crying. I'm talking about one would get quiet, the other one would burst out.
Right.
When the other one burst out, the other one would go start. So it became very, very, very hard early on to just care for him because we didn't know why there was so much crying.
right.
So Stan would leave in the day, just exhausted because he was working at a local factory about 20-something miles away from the house. And so I was at home with him, me and my mom. And when he would get home from work, I'd be in the rocking chair, like one here. And I'd be just exhausted because they literally cried all day long.
One time I came home and you had the baby swing in the bed with you, and you had one swinging in the bed asleep, and you were asleep, and you had one on your chest, and I just shook my head because of all the crying that was happening. So as months went by, they weren't pulling up. 6-7 months they weren't pulling up. Kind of cautious, anxious about it, but we just kept going. And I specifically remember at our church that we were in, because there were 2 other babies born within days of our twins. And one day, this had to be when they were like 8 or 9 months, I looked over and I saw the other child was actually pulling up and sliding down
The church pew.
And we were still holding ours.
Literally holding them up.
Our babies couldn't even sit up by themselves, and this one was actually getting close to walking. So that caught my eye because I knew something wasn't quite right at that time.
But you try to be hopeful. And us being, people of faith in church, we were Sunday school teacher, youth leaders, and all that, so we had a pretty strong faith base. So we understood that different people, different children grow at different rates. They develop at different times. So we're trying to be hopeful, but the milestones that we were, comparing against other children, it just didn't add up.
Wasn't adding up at all.
And even I know expression-wise, Kirk and Kirkland, even as newborns, they kind of had a blank expression, and sometimes one would smile, but then they would trade personalities. And we even remember it was a game. Can you make Kirkland smile?
Can you make him smile? And they tried, and
people would be goo gaga and all in their face, and he's like,
he wouldn't smile.
Whatever. So it was like at maybe 2 or 3 years old, we're getting to that point to where, with me, I'm gonna be honest with you, depression setting in because you got other children and their moms are celebrating milestones, and I'm just praying for mine to say a word.
Because they didn't walk until they were 16 months.
They cried. The crying never stopped. And in hindsight, we can see a lot of things that we did wrong, that if we were informed or educated, we probably could have stopped some of it, but we had no clue that there could even be something mentally or something wrong with it, because we didn't know.
It had never happened on either side of our family. So
I got 10 siblings. You have 8. So out of 18 siblings,
nothing, no sign of anything. Everybody just born regular stages, and so that's what we were expecting. And when we didn't get that, and this is 2003, 2004, 2005. There's not the influx of information that there is now. So we were just very confused.
So one day we got a visitor, and we were kind of, I guess, you get sore as a parent when you're doing the best you can, and then you're new parents. You get sore from all the advice. Well, they're not walking because y'all holding them too much.
Right.
No, we're holding them because they're not walking.
Right.
Well, you should do this. You do that. That's just influx,
So
a
much.
flood of. And so one time we got a visitor, I remember, and they came over, and it was a lady, and she said, "Have you ever heard of the term autism?" And I'm like, no. And she said, she was really nice, and I could tell she didn't want to kind of destroy or just, hurt me, but she said, you need to look it up. So I got on the internet, and man, when I started seeing the signs and symptoms, I just was at the computer and just dumbfounded. I'm like, every sign and symptom our kids had.
They did.
They had. So we knew something was wrong.
And now we knew what it was.
So the diagnosis, we kind of had an idea. So here I am trying to work as a nurse. I tried to go back to work, and I wasn't getting any sleep. And we took them to a couple of clinical psychologists, and one even had to write me a work excuse because I was missing work so much. The struggle at home was real. By this time, they're 3.5?
Yeah, 3.5. This is like 2006. 2006 is when we were doing all this testing and taking them to different places, to different doctors, trying to find out, okay, what can you tell us? We need a fix. What, can you fix this?
Just running the doctors for answers, no answers. Just putting bits and pieces, and then your faith. Praying every night, trying to hold on to prayer.
And hold on.
We had just come out of a whirlwind to where my mom had passed, my rock. She had passed in June of 2005. So here I am, the help that I had, gone. And I'm depressed. At home, listening to this crying out, and they can't tell me, Mom, I'm hungry, Mom, I'm hurting. Right. I'm trying to figure this thing out. He's trying to work. We're getting behind on bills. It was rough. And you got people that's churchy or sanctified telling you
just gotta pray.
You got to pray, and like it's an overnight fix, and God ain't saying nothing. Right. God haven't said anything. You go through this guilt.
Don't take them to the doctor, and just believe God or do it, and where's your faith? All the cliches that we got.
It was so rough.
It was kind of rough on us in that time frame because of all of the things the emotions that we had.
It's a whirlwind. Right. It was a literal Euroclidon. And I remember we used to take turns. They would scream themselves to sleep.
They would.
And I was an emotional wreck, and we used to take turns just crying. Like, he'd cry one night while I tried to console him, and then, the next night it was his turn, so it was my night to cry. Because, just helpless.
We'd literally have to just I would sit in there and just kind of rub their heads, just because there's the sensory overload of an autistic child is just so much. So rubbing their head would soothe them and calm them down. So after I would be in there, 12, 1 o'clock
in the morning,
nightly.
And have to go to work.
Have to go at 5, going to work, and just trying to calm them. But, as parents, you do what you have to do for your children. They can't tell us what's wrong, so we've got to figure this out. So, we did what we had to do.
So finally, we got an appointment in Starkville with a clinical psychologist there, and he took our oldest twin there.
To Kirk. Mm-hmm.
And
we walked in and we sat down, and the doctor's like, I'm going to ask your son some questions, and we're going to grade him, we're going to, and I'll give you a diagnosis. And as he was asking Kirk questions, at this time Kirk was very nonverbal, so he would just look at him, and the doctor, he would write on this paper, and he would shake his head. And he would ask him more questions, and he'd write and he'd shake his head. So at the end of the session, I said, so doctor, what can you tell me? He said, well, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, he's not quite mentally retarded. Not quite. He's close to it, but not quite. he said, don't expect a miracle. I shook his hand. I said, thank you, doctor. And I looked at my son. He was just sitting there smiling, nonverbal. I got him, took him to the car. And I got in the car and closed the door. And I heard God speak to me saying, whose report will you believe? And I really needed to hear that at that time, because you don't want to, as a parent, you don't want to hear a person that's a medical professional tell you, based off what they see, a miracle is nowhere near your house and it's not going to happen in this child. Look at it, it is what it is, and go on about your life. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, what I was told by humans. But my God had a different answer.
And so, of course, Stan being Stan and him knowing his wife, he didn't even tell me. You know, he come in the house like, and they said it is autism, you know. And he kind of left it as that. So I'm like, okay. So that was devastating enough. And we just started learning more. We started seeking early intervention. Right. You know, we got him into speech therapy. We got him into we got with the local health department to see what early interventions. We got them into school, early school development delay for, students with development delays. They started at 3.
We did everything.
And we had speech therapists coming to the house. They was jumping on couches at the house, and they were learning how to communicate. And there was a little silver lining here and there, but for the most part, everything just always looked bleak. Yeah. We started noticing like Kirk was more of an introvert. He didn't like certain textures, and that's one thing with autistic children. So all clothing, there was certain like wool and corduroy or clothes with tags. He's he's like nah. So we started learning by trial and error. All the while going to church smiling and, praising God and coming home crying every night. But always believing that word, because God made us a promise that one day our children would function. I just always kept it in the back of my head, and I would always say, God, this is not what you promised me. You're going to have to make good on your promise, because this is not what you said and it doesn't look like it. So you're going to have to do what you need to do.
That's right.
So we kept going to church, and we belonged to a Pentecostal church at the time. So one night, we come home out of this revival. And the ride home was so weird because they were so quiet. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And we were joking because we was like, oh, they too quiet. They gonna let us have it.
Saving it for later.
They would do things to communicate with one another, even with the autism, which was awesome and cute, but all of it's foreign to us.
Right, we were clueless.
But this night, they were on the jumping on the bunk beds, and I can't remember who was who, because at this point, when we walked in the room and what we saw, it all struck me so to where I just couldn't believe my eyes. And one was on the bed screaming, "Hallelujah!" And the other one would respond back with,
"Thank you, Jesus."
Thank you, Jesus. And they were imitating the people that they had saw in the revival. They were imitating them. And I just remember hearing those words, being in shock, but I just kind of slid down the wall because my body just went numb. I'm like,
because they hadn't been talking. They could sing. They could actually
sing. It's weird. They had, and there's a thing called echolea with autistic kids. They kind of will echo what they hear, but it's without meaning. It's just, Right. And they would repeat songs because, they've always been musical, and they could sing. But when it comes to just...
If you ask them, are you hungry?
What is that? They had no verbal... there was no verbal communication as far as meaning verbal communication. Right. But this was just spontaneous. Right. Like, they kind of... like a light bulb clicked. Yeah. And they understood, hey, if I say this, you say this. And I just lost it. I lost it for a good rest of the night, I guess. Just it's like Mr. Brown. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
It was good to hear.
Gosh, that was.
It was good to hear.
Yes, this is. I just give me something to work with. Right. So that was the miracle.
That was the beginning.
That was the miracle
of something great.
So the roadmap we had to work on was learning all we can about this diagnosis of autism. So one thing that we noticed was, number one, they was musical. Kirkland, youngest twin here, he would stem, and we noticed whenever he stem, like we turn commercials on or songs, gospel song, he keep beat. This boy can play drums, I believe. So he used that stemming and he turned that into drumming.
Right.
And by the age of 4 or 5, this boy could play a full drum set like a rock star. I'm talking about just.
But he started when he was 1 on these pots and pans, keeping the beat.
Yeah, they were always.
And so with Kirk, when he was 3 years old, he had a xylophone, and one day he was just beating it, just making the normal kids noises. Then all of a sudden, he went to play his ABCs in tune, and so we would look at each other. A, B, yeah, E, F, G. I'm like,
H, I, J, K. But
then
if he get this elemental P,
we're like, all right, he got something, and he got to elemental P, and he went all the way through. And so I was like, you know what, maybe he could play a keyboard. So I got up, I raced to the local store, got a $10 keyboard, red.
I remember. Red with black buttons.
Yep, brought it back. I sat it in front of him, and we had it on the gospel station, and a gospel song came on, and he went to playing this gospel song.
Open the floodgates of heaven. Power boy.
Let It Rain, at 3 years old, and he's been playing ever since. So what Shalonda started doing, she went to, once they got to talking a little bit, she went to teaching them how to sing and harmonize.
And so they would sing, and so I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do, how I'm going to do this, but if y'all will sing a song, y'all are going to learn to sing numbers. So I would go to making up songs. I'm talking about just about everything, because they love music so to where they participate in the song, but if I just talk to them normally, they just go blank.
Right.
So there was this song that our family was singing that they knew, and that song it would go, all my help, and I get them to say that, and they sing along with me. And one day I decided just to try it, and I'd say 1, 2, 3, and they sing 1, 2, 3. Y'all remember how they go? Come on, let's do a little bit of it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. 7, 8. 7 and 8. 9, 10. 9, 10. 11 and 12. 11 and 12. 13. 13, 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. Ooh. And so I switch out that song, but if I would say, okay, boys, let's do your numbers, like, what? But then when they went to school and they went to hearing 1, 2, 3, it's like, hey, we've been singing this all along. So I integrated songs, just everyday songs. I switched words into things that they would need in life. Right. Numbers, ABCs. I mean, we had a full-blown ABC shout praise song. And that was our roadmap to success. Right. Okay, no, they're not doing this, they're not doing it, but I bet you
they can do this.
They can sing. I bet you, hey, we gonna get this out through music.
Right.
And that was our outlet. We would do it for hours.
So she got them harmonized, and so now they're going along singing. Then surprise, 2008.
I'm pregnant again. I was like, oh, Lord. I'm just saying, you know, we just wasn't expecting because, you know.
Yeah, it was us four.
We got them potty trained. They
Right.
went to school, and I mean, they're progressing. You know, they're making progress. Here I am pregnant again, so of course,
Little girl.
the biggest stigma was she have autism?
And people I had people actually come to me saying that, are you afraid? Do you think she'll have it? Are you afraid? I'm like, no, I'm not afraid, because, you know, I trust God.
I was.
She was afraid. I'm good.
I was scared.
I was like, no, I'm trusting
He's the
God.
calm one in the marriage. I'm the one, you know. I'm the one that jump off the boat for a second like Peter did and look at something. I'm about to drown. That's me.
And I'm like, come on
but
back.
I'm better.
Yeah,
I'm
so
better.
you're better.
He stabilizes me. And when this little girl was born, I mean, perfect. Smiling, hitting every milestone.
Sitting up, standing up, walking. She walked like 10 months.
I always say autism, now that I know, it's not the end of the world unless you shut your world off. It's not the end of the world, it's a different world. I'm talking about these kids, these children here. They are hilarious. They are just normal, everyday 16-year-olds going to school, come home laughing, cracking jokes. But they are so sincere about their work, and then learn as much as you can, and don't do whatever you can, and don't put them out there just to make somebody else feel good. Like there was certain stage where they could always sing and they be like, you holding those kids back and you should let them do this and you should let them do that. But it was my job as a parent to know, okay, our job as a parent to let them know. Well, see, I'm always the one going off. You be like, but I'm the one. Look, okay. Yeah, they can sing, but okay, how are the lights in the building? You know, their sensory overload. You're not gonna, okay, what about the sound? You know, you be overloaded with sounds. You know, so just because they can do something don't mean they're comfortable with it right now. I never pushed them.
Man.
To be anything but what they was ready and comfortable to be, and now that we do it without ease.
Right.
You know, but it's the season for it. They've grown out of a lot of those traits to where they can handle them.
Right. And that was the main thing. We had to listen to God and not people.
Right.
Because people wanted us, you know, we received criticism about do this, get them out there, but you know, we're their parents. We knew when it was time.
All right.
And we know about the lights and everything she said. So it was up to us to be led by God when the time was right to share
Them with the world.
Awesome gift with the world.
And you know, you'll have people that have their opinion. You baby them too much, you know. Let them be boys. I'm like, but you know, with autism, one of the things is they have poor depth perception, and they have a low sense of danger. Like a lot of things that, you know, when they see like a drop off, to them it's like that ain't that bad, you know. You know, or you know not to walk that close to a pool. Or I remember one day, Kirkland, what was that you did? How you got that scar on your head?
That's funny.
I saw this commercial.
Speak up.
I saw this commercial, and then I just turned around and I saw a wall. So then, I like a ram, I just ran into it and just boom, busted my head. Mama was afraid. She didn't know what to do.
Because he saw in the commercial this dude run into the wall.
I don't think it was like a run into the wall. I think it was like, it was something like a singing, like, you know, something like The Voice or something. And for some reason, I just...
Anywhere you hear got busted.
So, you know, no, they can't do it. You know, we're very it's not that we're protected. We have to, you know. But other than that, I mean, if we could say just anything to everybody, just let people with special needs, let them live with the grace of understanding without your judgment. You know, everybody's different, and truth be told, everybody, I don't care if you don't have a diagnosis in your house, it's something going on. You don't want the world, you know, gawking at. So just because you know our situation and we're vocal about it, we're advocates for other families,
We are.
when we walk in the mall, don't be pointing at us about that's labeling us. We just everyday folks. Like, 'cause I promise you, I would say, "Boo, what?" I'm that person. So, and Kurt will ask her, "What you looking at? Want your boss?"
Yes, ma'am.
I know. So that's all we ask is just let us have the grace that you will want.
That's right.
Without judgment.
That's right.
I would say we learned as early on, and we're still that same way. We figured out outside sources, you keep them at a minimum. If you pray about something, the less people you tell what you got going on,
The better.
especially with your struggles and the better. So immediate family knew they could sing, but we were just really hadn't put them out there. Our church family where we were, they would know. But other than that, we just didn't really put them out there. And I remember LaSarah started talking, she started singing, and she started harmonizing with them at an early age. And the very first service is when Stan started pastoring. And for his pastoral anniversary in 2011, they did their first solo debut as just the kids only. And I will never forget that song. They sung "I Feel Like Going On."
Right.
And they start out, "I feel like going on. Oh, I feel like going on. Oh, those triumphs come on every hand. Oh, I feel like going on. So Kirk voice was always deep. And I remember it, Kirk said, "Feel like going," oh, he said, "Oh," everybody.
Yeah.
Man, Stan just sat back in the chair and he just cried.
That was amazing to me to
That
see.
was awesome.
To see how God had brought them from where they were just years earlier, and the crying and the things that we did and the wandering and knowing God had made us a promise, and
He showed himself
to
faithful.
see Him keep the promise like He always does. There's no slack in God, it's in us, and to just see that promise manifest like that was the greatest pastoral anniversary gift I could receive.
And so Kirk kept, he kept mastering music, and how we would do with him. He had his keyboard. We bought him a Yamaha, a little just a start educational keyboard, and he would watch Moses Tyson Jr.
Yes.
Oh gosh, he's an organist, I think based out of Memphis area somewhere like that. But Kirk watched him like how, and Kirk has never had a lesson in his life. Has always played by ear, but he started out mimicking Moses Tyson Jr. He would play, Kirkland would sing. I guess Kirkland would be G. Patterson, maybe Bishop G. Patterson. He would preach and he would play, and she'd be the motherboard. Hallelujah. And we'd be, and that was our therapy.
It was.
Because, and I would say this, especially to parents that's dealing with autism and you got the diagnosis and you're trying to figure out. The hardest part is dealing with the outside world.
Yeah.
It's hard enough in the inside, but just people, their looks and their judgments, and sometimes Kirkland had a little ADHD mixed with his, and you see them all over the place. They ought to just whip them and make them back. I mean,
all the outside experts, what you got to watch out.
And if I would say anything to the families, I would say, look, be your support. Lean on God and do you without regret. Do you without explanation. Nobody is up all night with you. Nobody is in the home with you. Everybody that got expert opinions, they're asleep while you're up. When you have the meltdowns in your home and the tantrums and stuff, they're on the phone telling you what to do, and then if they hear enough noise, well, I got to go.
Got to go.
So you know, be strong. That's what I would say. And lean on people that call people, confer with people, meet with people. Let people that has been there and done that, that can talk to you and you can tell them. I just feel like pulling my hair out today, but I just cried all day. And somebody that's been there and done that can say, I know how you feel. You are definitely correct. Been there and done that, but this is how you're gonna make it because I made it.
And also, be encouraged. Be encouraged. Everything's gonna be all right. You just have to find ways to adapt and raise your children the best way you can. But be encouraged. I know it can get discouraging. We've been there. We've had some crying times, and you'll have those crying times. But at the end of the day, be encouraged because God never leaves you.
Right.
He's there with you all the time. That's why you can hold on. That's why you don't give up. When you feel like giving up, those times you're almost there, then something extra kicks in. That's God. He knows exactly how much you can take.
If I can speak to a person that has a hard time being accepted, I would just say, like, just be you. I mean, you ain't got to change for nobody or anyone. It was a struggle. And still to this day, I still have a hard time, like, being accepted. See, Kirk over here, I gotta watch him. I gotta, like, carry his wounds. But hey, Kirk has a personality too. Kirk, as a matter of fact, Kirk, what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Mr. Brown, and my favorite movie is In My Dear Family Funeral. That's it.
Yeah, he loves him some Madea. For the one that's struggling on being accepted, just be you. And if they don't like you, then they just don't like you. Just move on.
One thing I love about my brother Kirk is that he is very caring and he always watches out for me. And the same thing with my other brother.
When you feel
Kirk.
like it. When you feel like it.
So like, yeah, I love both my brothers and I don't have a favorite brother. I love both of them the same, just like how I love everybody the same. So,
You said what?
I said that you watch out.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, that's our like regular lives, and that's our daily life we live. And young people, for the ones that's different, be you. Always be you. Don't change for nobody.
You got something to say?
You didn't want nothing to say first? I don't want to say.
And everything that it gets me closer to you. We're moving forward, yeah, and we're making progress. Oh yeah. Verse 2. Hey, yesterday is already gone. Oh yeah. Now I'm waking up to a brand new dawn.
I'm not perfect. I'm perfect.
Brand new day to keep chasing my dreams.
They can do it.
Come on.
Can't stop now because destiny is calling for me.
I'm not perfect.
I have many flaws.
Never mind. Just
Say
say
it. No. We can do it. I'm not perfect. I have many flaws. Kurt. I'm not perfect. I have many flaws. 1, 2, 3, go. I'm not perfect. I have many flaws. I am different and that's okay. Some days I smile, some days I hide. The pattern made me that way. Handle me very delicately. Please don't throw me away. Truth be told, I'm very valuable. I am unfinished clay.
How
I'ma speak to the world. Hold on.
You
I never said that. Mom, hold on. I thought we were just giving off daily lives, and I was gonna say
What is
something
your
like,
message to the world, Kirby? See that you don't used to be the main one on one of the interview, then you want to preach. What's your message to the world?
Mama, you got a point.
Please get this message to the world.
my message is like to the ones that feel different or don't fit in. Like, don't change for nobody. I love encouraging. Hey, God deliver me from that. I'm just a regular 16-year-old who likes girls, trying to find a girlfriend. Maybe. If the Lord forbids, amen. We love to have fun. We're funny when we want to. But hey.
Hello?
You done?
But hey,
I'm
what?
dead.
You just say, but hey. That's
Kirby,
what
you can do
ended.
that over. You said, if God forbid, that don't make sense.
And the
Kirby, you done said that. You done said that one time before.
Did I?
Everything you said, yes. You repeated yourself.
Okay, that's good.
We done.
We done.
Okay. I don't think
We
I
are
did.
done.
I don't think I did.
I'm comfortable here.
We know you did.
If you don't get your booty out of the No! Gargla! Ah! Get off. Get off.
Why?
Because.
Hey, Kurt. Come on, bro.
No, don't like nobody.
Come on, bro. I don't like. Come on, bro. Just one time. Just one time.
No.
When was the last time?
All right, Kurt. Don't sit on me then.
I'll
Okay
sit on
then.
you.
You said okay.
I'll sit on you.
All right, sit right here.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
I fit, do I? I guess so.
You don't fit.
All right.
Hey, Kurt. You good? Kurt, look at. Kurt, look. Kurt. What did I do to you?
But I'm too fat for this.
What did I do to you? What did I do to you? Now, yeah. Jesus, take the wheel.